guys, how's it going? It's X666X Iron Maiden, and today we're back with more BAND-MAID. This is going to be Don't You Tell Me and Turn Me On. I can't tell if it's the same title because that's not the title the person told me was part of the reactions title in the comments. So it could be a mixture of both. But I do know in the comment it said that there was a bass and guitar duel. I think this is the right video because there was no link given with that, but considering the length of this one compared to the other newer live video, I'm assuming this is the one they were talking about. Usually when there's solos thrown in and it's dueling, it's probably going to be more than 3.5 minutes, so hopefully I got the right one. This is going to be live in Melkweg, Amsterdam. It says Miku's Intermezzo. Obviously, I'm assuming that means intermission. And yeah, I was just basically picked at random from the comments to see which one stood out to me the most, what I should check out next. And this one did. I almost went with Thrill already, but I felt like I should hold on to that one. Someone told me that was their first music video they did. And I feel like something special like that, we'll hold on to it a little bit longer, I don't want to just check out all the best stuff right away. I want to mix it up a little bit too. So, without further ado, let's get going. This is 10.5 minutes long, and I'm going to try to space out my pausing, but obviously if stuff comes up that I feel like I need to pause for, I'm still going to pause. Unfortunately, there's no closed caption for this one. Yeah.
I have wanted to come here since long ago. One more, please. Happy ball. Are you together? Enjoy?
Yeah! I enjoy this.
Whoa, people, please. Are you enjoying? It's a wonderful night today. Enjoy together. Are you ready?
여러분 수고할です.
ようこそバンドメイドのおケージへ
Surprisingly decent quality, even though it's on camera. Okay, before they just go off again there. So normally this would be like the kind of quality video a reactor would avoid only because it's not super clear. But I don't want anyone to worry because I know how some people take videos like this. This is not my first time listening to a concert off of a recorded. It's obviously on a phone, but it sounds quite decent still. I can still hear everything going on. That's the only reason why I'm continuing. If it would have been super muffled more than this, I probably would have stopped it. But I can still hear pretty much everything that's going on, which is quite surprising, being this close to the band. It's usually a lot of distortion. I've been in this position before. I usually just take a few pictures when a band starts, maybe a few more later. At least nowadays. Before, I used to try and at least do, like a small video at one part in a set of a band. And the rest of the time, I just experience the band live. It's just like I just take like a small memory, basically. So I completely understand this guy. But so far, I'm really enjoying the song. I really enjoyed the crowd interaction at the start, because obviously, if they're in Amsterdam, she obviously still need to communicate with them, and maybe her English isn't the best here. You can tell that she's really she still has to put some thought behind it before she starts saying words. You could see just by the way she's talking, but man, she's so good with the crowd. Excuse me. Amazing job with the crowd here, and I'm actually I never really put any thought into it. It's like, oh, if they tour in other places, it's different language. Obviously, some English, but it's not, obviously, it's not going to be like you guys listening to me, you know what I mean? But it did really good. And I could be incorrect here, but I thought I heard some people in the crowd possibly speaking Japanese. It was kind of muffled, and I wasn't ready for it, and I didn't want to go back just to hear that, but quite possibly somebody said something in Japanese back to her, which was cool if that was the case. Just saying that someone who knows it is at least making them feel... I know if I was going somewhere and they weren't English and someone spoke English to me, I would feel, like, oh, someone actually, wants to use my language to communicate with me while I'm on stage. I like that. That's nice. It makes you feel kind of like welcome in a weird way. Music-wise, it's the BAND-MAID we know and love so far. I want to continue because I do want to get to this part that they were talking about. If there's I'm excited to see this bass guitar duel here going on. Let's go. I'm actually glad he's in front of the bass amp too, because it helps a lot. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop it. I do believe there's going to be two different songs. I think Turn Me On is the other song that's going to play here as well. I think if it is, I'm going to stop it before that, and we'll do it at a different time. There was times in the past where I do both songs together, if it is what the case ends up being. But I prefer to keep it separate. I do have only limited time to record tonight, and I still have to do some other stuff. So let's talk about the little battle, you could almost say, going on here. Very friendly battle. I really enjoy that. I have to, but first, before we even get into that, before I even forget, her bass tone is so good here. It really, really reminds me. I was listening to it and I was like, I've heard this similar tone before. It's not exactly the same, but it reminds me of, if you listen to Pink Floyd live in Pompeii, he has a very similar bass tone to this at that concert, but obviously this is filmed recently, and that was filmed way back, so the audio quality is a little different, and I think that also makes a difference in the sound as well. On top of it's not exactly the same tone, but it's so close, and I always love that bass tone, and I'm loving it here just as much. Had to speak on that first of all. Them going back and forth was just cool. They were like headbutting at one point there, like going at each other, and just a very nice like back and forth. It's so good to see that when you're live in the crowd too. It just increases the feeling, like that feeling that you really want when you go to a show where you're super happy to be there. You're getting to see a band that you love. Maybe you're discovering a new band that you're falling in love with, because that happens sometimes as well. Some of the opening acts, they just grab you. Sometimes they're the most entertaining act of the night for you too. And when you see stuff like that, it just has this thing that is just, even if you're not having the greatest night, I find like just having these little fun moments on stage, the interaction between band members can just make the experience that much better, just in general. I thought they did amazing on it. They're obviously, the whole band's talented. We already know this at this point. We've covered a few songs already, and I can only say that so many times, but I feel like I still have to say it, because the more I see them, the more it hits even more, you know what I mean? So let's continue, just in case this is actually a 10-minute version of the song and I'm only halfway. Yeah, it's a different song. Gotta be. I'm going to double check right quickly here before we keep going, though. I will double check that this is actually a different song before I keep going. Oops. Yes, it is a different song. So they just recorded two of these together, so we will do that one, a different time. I'll stop it there. There's also better quality footage of Turn Me On. I know for a fact, because Shadow John's reaction was the third one on the list that I was just looking at live at Zepp, so we'll probably be watching the same one. And he's smiling in the thumbnail, so it must have been a good one. Yeah, no, this was your typical BAND-MAID, man. You just get excited to just know you're checking them out. I don't ever feel like when I'm checking them out that like I have anything really to say more. They're very, at the same time, like they're very talented. They throw in their own little flair to it, but they're still that hard rock band, and they do follow that formula of like your typical hard rock band to a certain degree. At the same time, they just have like that extra flair. They have their own gimmicks. Each one of them have their own flares, and that's not to make them sound diminished in any way, but it almost makes it harder to say stuff about them, because when it comes to hard rock, it's like, for instance, I feel like I'm gonna sound insulting. That's not my intention what I'm gonna say. It's like bands like AC/DC, for instance, where they're hard rock. They have their own thing that they do, but you listen to every song, and they keep, that same feel going along. It's not always I'm not saying they sound the same all the time. Mind you, with AC/DC, that's quite it kind of does, but it comes down to like the same things going on every time. You know what I mean? So I find it's harder to come up, not come up with stuff to say, but just without repeating myself, because it like I said, repeating yourself isn't great, but I'm also not trying to diminish them either by saying I can't come up with other stuff to say, because they do have that flair. Like, I do really enjoy them a lot. On the opposite side, I don't enjoy AC/DC as much as I used to, so that's why I'm being very specific with my words here, because I don't want it to come off as in they're not good, or they're too simple, or I don't like them, because that is the opposite on all those. Just sometimes it's hard to find words, you know what I mean? And it is the internet, so if I'm not very specific, someone will come out and say something that I meant something else that I didn't mean. So I'm just trying to cover my bases here. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's what we'll finish off with. And I'm glad that I can't remember who it was that left a comment. I don't write down names anymore from comments because there's too many. So I apologize that I don't remember. But I'm glad that they told me to check out the one, that had the guitar and bass dual in it, because I really enjoyed that stuff, and I think it probably added more to it than the other version might not have had it. It was much shorter, almost half the length of what we just watched, so I'm assuming there wasn't one in the other one. If there was, and I missed, that one was better quality and I missed it, then whatever, but I really didn't have any problem with this one. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified when I drop new videos. I also have a Discord channel now, with the link will be in the description, which will also be posting when I do videos. Plus, you can chat with me and other people in there. And I'm also starting a Twitch channel for gaming if you're interested in that. I have a whole ton of games, and sometimes it'll just be whatever we're in the mood for those nights, and we'll just play around. So anyway, you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you later.